Connecticut senators responding to the attack on the U.S. Capitol from last Wednesday, saying President Trump should be held fully accountable, and they're demanding stronger security measures to protect lawmakers.
I strongly and urgently support impeachment.
Senator Richard Blumenthal, one of many Democrats calling for the removal of President Trump through the 25th Amendment. Vice President Mike Pence has not said whether that's on the table. A source tells Fox News that Pence has not been involved in any 25th Amendment conversations.
There is precedent for impeaching a federal official even after resignation. As you may know, federal judges have resigned, trying to avoid the consequences of impeachment.
The senator calling the breach at the Capitol an act of terrorism, showing worry for President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration in 9 days.
That was not a protest. That was an armed insurrection. It was domestic terrorism. And we should beware of what may happen on January 20th.
Senator Chris Murphy sharing similar concerns. He and Senator Blumenthal were inside the U.S. Capitol the day of the attack, the incident leaving him compelled to take action. Murphy sending a letter to the acting Secretary of Defense requesting a full review necessary for the military to defend the U.S. Capitol from attack. With his own eyes, he says it was clear the Capitol Police did not have the manpower to defend the Capitol from invasion that day, and it took 4 hours for the National Guard to arrive.
That is unconscionable. That is unacceptable. This is America's temple of democracy, the United States Capitol. Inside it that day was the joint session of the United States Congress.
Murphy believes another attack will happen again.
Ask yourself this: why on earth do we spend $700 billion on the military every year if it can't even protect the U.S. Capitol?
In Hartford, Carmen Chow, Fox 61 News.
Carmen, thank you. Flag